A very warm welcome to all of you, especially children, students, and parents. Team Anuragyam is extremely delighted to have a celebrated alumni of IIT Roorkee with us, our esteemed guest for tonight. Anish, Anish Raheja sir rather, holds an experience of 20 years on different leadership positions before finally finding his calling in executive and legacy coach. Having designed the Arise model for mentoring senior executives and young entrepreneurs to realize their latent talent and fundamental reasons for their existence in the corporate world and otherwise also. A very warm welcome to you, Anish sir. I hope I'm audible to you.
Yeah, you're very much audible, ma'am. Thank you, Nidhi. Thanks for inviting me to this session. And I'm so grateful to you for the invitation. I'm looking forward to this interaction.
All thanks to Team Anuragyam, where we strive to have candid conversations with people from different walks of life, mentoring us, coaching us. And today we have a coach, especially who designs programs for young executives, senior executives, and students as well. He has designed back to roots framework, especially for young ones who are raring to go with their startup. But today, specifically, we are going to talk about students. Because in Corona times, there have been so many difficult situations that students are facing, that which career to opt for and what future holds for them. And before me speaking too much about it, I would like Anish sir, who is popularly known as Coach Anish. So that's a huge compliment. That's a huge suffix added to your name. And he has designed a very powerful program, a framework called NDP, which is a rare combination of Vedic astrology, psychometric assessment, and perceived interest, personalized and comprehensive career mentoring program. So, what it is all about? So, please, we need to know. Our viewers are very much interested in knowing about the framework and how do you go about it?
Sure. Nidhi, NDP framework N stands for natural instincts, D stands for desired attributes, and P stands for perceived interest. So the way we use the framework is we look at what the natural instincts are in any of the respondent. So कोई भी अगर हमारे पास आता है to identify what the right field, what the right future could be. So we start by looking at the natural instincts in an individual. So one of the better ways that we've found over the years is to use the birth charts, to use astrology to identify what those natural traits are, what those natural attributes are in an individual. So by birth, every person is different. So even the twins are different. Maybe they have almost a similar birth time, but still with a few minutes of a difference, the characteristics, the attribute changes. So for every individual, there are certain attributes that comes naturally to the person. So through astrology, we identify those natural instincts. Now that's one part of the equation. That's become the first data point for us. Then when we look at over the years, what type of conditioning to the mind that has happened. So that's the desired attributes, which we identify through time-tested psychometric tests, the different standard tests with a high repeatability and reliability index. So we use that as the second data point for our analysis. The third part of the equation is the perceived interest, means what the people around that person perceives about that individual. उनका perception क्या है उसके बारे में, जिसके हम टेस्ट कर रहे हैं, जिसको हम assess कर रहे हैं, जिसकी हम individual profiling कर रहे हैं, तो आसपास के लोग उनके बारे में क्या समझते हैं, क्या सोचते हैं. So these could be parents, these could be the best friends, relatives, anybody who knows that person. So that becomes the third data point for us. So now that we have these three data points through the birth charts, where we look at the natural instincts, through the psychometric analysis, look at the desired attributes, and through a questionnaire, what the people around that person perceives about that person, So then we do a statistical analysis at our end and look at the central tendencies, where the intersection point is coming. So that intersection point helps us in identifying what the right field could be for a person. So this is quite a comprehensive testing. It's not unidirectional. It's not dependent on one data points, but trying to analyze this and then decide from a multiple aspect. So that's why it becomes quite comprehensive, and we've been successfully using it. The results have been absolutely wonderful. People who've been with us, and whether it's a student who's looking for a career, looking for which field to enter, और इवन एन इंडिविजुअल अगर वो अपना करियर चेंज ढूंढ रहे हैं कि अब हमें अपनी जिंदगी में आगे क्या करना है, what could be the next part for it. So in both the sides, whether for a working professional or for the student, this framework can be used.
This is actually a very different approach to career counseling because we've never, at least I have never also, most of my viewers would also agree on this, that astrology with career counseling, these are two like very different, poles apart sciences. And how do you actually manage to do it? And are you doing it alone, or you are taking help from someone else, some astrologers, or you're doing it all on your own? And how much time does it take to like a person, a particular child?
Sure. See, astrology is a science. बहुत लोग इसको कोई इसको मेटा साइंस बोलता है, कोई कुछ, मैं इसको रूट साइंस बोलता हूँ. It's a science. So it needs to be approached as a science. So the results from astrology can be used in different scenarios. And these are very highly tested, time-tested principles of astrology. Now, it is a science, Nidhi ji, जो सदियों से हमारे scriptures में mentioned है. There are so many saints who have given their whole life to this field. So there's a huge amount of knowledge testing that has happened in astrology. So ये वो astrology नहीं है, roadside astrology नहीं है कि कुछ भी बोलते हैं. So there is a huge science behind it. So it is like the different chemical reactions that are happening. So like in chemistry, you have different chemical reactions. So you need to understand about every you need to understand how that reaction is taking place. किस environment में कैसा reaction होगा, क्या उनको catalyst की जरूरत है. So you need to understand the basic, and then you'll be able to appreciate what is happening. Same way in astrology, these are chemical reactions, but these are the reactions of energies that's happening. The cosmic energy reacts with our internal energy. So we need to first understand about it. It has a huge usage in career counseling, because in career mentoring or in career coaching, because you need to understand about the individual. So it is a highly career coaching. What I realized, Nidhi ji, is a very important and a very critical part of anybody's journey. So career becomes one of the very important questions. So it cannot be taken lightly. So what we do is we use astrology as to know about the person, to get some insights about the person, because once you know about the person, then you'll be in a better position to actually figure out what would be right for that. So that's the first thing we do, is we use astrology to know more about the person. So like you have psychometric tools, so similarly we have astrological tools, but in our case we combine both the tools, because psychometric gives us certain insights and astrology gives us more insights. So when we do an individual profiling, we approach from both the perspectives, and then we layered it up with the third perspective. तीसरा perspective है perception का. So उससे क्या होता है कि जब आप किसी की भी mentoring कर रहे हैं, career के बारे में discussion कर रहे हैं, it becomes far more relevant. In terms of the time that you asked me कि कितना समय लगता है इसको करने में, that's the second part of the question you asked. So we don't hurry up in any individual. It's highly exclusive, highly personalized. For us, it can even take 4 to 5 days to do a profiling of an individual. ये कोई system generated report नहीं है कि आपने system के अंदर just अपना data डाला और system ने आपको एक report बना के दे दिया, which is because that report is again based on certain instructions, certain programming that you do, that you put in. So it is dependent on the quality of the programming, the reports. For us, there is a lot of manual intervention that happens. There's a lot of thinking that happens, because whatever that options that gets generated, then we do a validation कि उन options का future क्या है. Okay, there's no point in suggesting to a child an area जो कि already stagnated area है. So what's the future of that area? So it takes 4 to 5 days to do that. Yes, I have a team of experts with me, team of astrologers with me. I'm myself a student of astrology for many, many years now. So I'm a perpetual student of astrology. But then we have more astrologers on the team. So where we do deliberate, discuss, figure out what is the right area or what's the profiling that's coming out. So it's highly, I would say, detailed, highly, lot of discussions that happen, lot of deliberation that happens, and that's why it takes a time. It takes at least 4 to 5 working days, I would say, for do a proper profiling, and that's very important. Actually, that's the most important step.
That's important. Important, obviously. So you have interactions with the student as well, the parents also, like
very much, very much. In Indian scenario, parents do play a very important role, and let's face it, they are the ones who know best about the child in terms of the personalities, in terms of the perceptions. So there are a lot of inputs that we take from the parents, and that's very important. Okay. Sometimes we do have situations where parents have certain expectations out of a child. They want the child to do something. The child may think about differently. So we work as the person who listens, who figure out, who becomes a third person, do the analysis, and then bring it back to both the student as well as to the parents, explaining to them what can be the right area. So in a way, जो मैं काउंसलिंग करता हूँ वो मैं पेरेंट्स की करता हूँ, जो मैं मेंटरिंग करता हूँ वो मैं स्टूडेंट्स की करता हूँ, बिकॉज स्टूडेंट्स को काउंसलिंग नहीं चाहिए, काउंसलिंग पेरेंट्स को चाहिए. Students just require a support system, somebody to hear them, to explain to them, and to show it to them why a particular area could be good for them in the future. It's the parents who require a bit of a counseling to let the child be alone, and children are quite, I would say, mature, or not, I would say they are quite knowledgeable, they understand. All they require somebody to discuss. So they require mentoring.
I agree completely with you when you say parents need to be counseled. Very true. Sir, you have been using these words relatively many times, counseling and mentoring. What is the basic difference? They seem quite similar, but I suppose there is a difference.
So I'll bring one more dimension to it, coaching. So let me give you 3 dimensions. So you've got these 3 words, which you'll find frequently. One is counseling, the other is mentoring, the third is coaching. See, in a very simple layman term to explain this, counseling is when you have a problem. So you go to a marriage counselor when you have a challenge. You go to a legal counselor, वकील के पास आप जाते हैं अगर कोई issue होता है. So if there is an issue, there is a problem, then you go to a counselor. Okay, so those issues could be mental issues, could be emotional issues, could be spiritual issues, could be any type of an issue. So you have a problem, you go to someone who gives you a solution. It's very simple term, that's counseling. And that's why I say I never counsel a student. Students don't have a problem. बच्चों को problem नहीं होती, children को problem नहीं है. Problem कहीं और है. So I don't want to lighten it. So the second part is the mentoring. Mentoring is a longer process. So where there is still a relationship of a person who has a knowledge, sharing the knowledge with another person. That can be a student, that can be anyone. So that is a mentoring process, which is a long drawn process. But here also it is about telling. आप अपनी नॉलेज के बेसिस पर, अपने एक्सपीरियंस के बेसिस पे सामने वाले को बता रहे हो, उसको गाइड कर रहे हो, लेकिन उसको बता रहे हो. It is still about telling. That's mentoring, but then it's a longer process, and mentor is supposed to be more knowledgeable, more experienced than the mentee जो कि जिसको आप mentor कर रहे हो. That's a mentoring process.
Call a mentor a protocol. You can call an idol, like you idolize a person, because he's the knowledge, he has that you are looking for. Yeah. Okay.
Correct. इससे भी next level आता है, which is a coaching. Coaching is all about asking. So in coaching, what we believe is कि solution जो है आपके पास already मौजूद है. All you require is someone to ask you certain questions in a certain manner, so that you are able to connect with your inner excellence, you are able to connect with your inner power, and the answers that already lies inside you, you are able to come out with those answers. So that's the philosophy of coaching. So where a coach and a coachee work at the same level, there's nobody superior. Like mentor में mentor superior है, mentee को वो बता रहा है, is telling. Coaching में it is absolutely both peers हैं, both same level पर हैं. All that coach is doing is asking questions, giving a very strong listening to what the other person is saying, then asking the questions to get him to find his own answers. So coaching में क्या है, क्योंकि answers सामने वाला खुद दे रहा है, तो उस answers की acceptability बहुत हाई होती है, because the person himself is giving those answers. So उसका commitment उन answers की तरफ is very high, the buy-in is very high, and it is all about being the soundboard, being the talking mirror for the person in the front, जिनसे वो अपने ideas, अपने thoughts को bounce करके खुद अपने answers निकाल लेता है. So that's coaching, and more the concepts of coaching is what I'm bringing into career. So that's why I call myself as a career coach, definitely not as a counselor. But so that's the state that we need to move towards.
Sir, I would also like to know, in fact, our viewers would like to know what is the correct age of mentoring that they should go for a mentor? Because all students are very much career oriented. Getting in the right direction, on the right path, in the very beginning of their career building, thoughts when they think what they want to become. What is the right age when you look for a mentor?
Yeah,
what is the
very, very good question, very relevant question, Nidhi. And we, for lack of any other, we counsel the parents to get the get the mentoring process start at least when the student is in the 9th class. That's the earliest that we start, because after 10th, there is a decision point. There's a very important decision point. Now, look at it this perspective. आज की तारीख में अगर मैं students की बात करूं, the way a career planning happens. 10th के बाद 11th के अंदर subject stream choose करनी होती है. So that happens through by the process of elimination. Means मुझे maths नहीं अच्छी लगती, तो मैं मैथ्स छोड़ देता हूँ. साइंस मुझे टफ लग रही है, साइंस में छोड़ देता हूँ. मुझसे याद करना मुश्किल होता है, तो मैं हिस्ट्री नहीं लूंगा. बच्चा क्या, कॉमर्स बचा है, चलो कॉमर्स ले लेते हैं, इकोनॉमिक्स ले लेते हैं, अकाउंट्स ले लेते हैं. ओके, दैट इज बाय एलिमिनेशन. तो अब सब्जेक्ट ले लिया.
You just read my mind. This is exactly what I did in my time.
Right. And you know, most of the time this is what happens, and majority of the cases this is what I have seen. So now let's take this journey a bit further. So 10th से 11th में आ गए, by elimination stream को choose कर लिया, चाहे वो इकोनॉमिक्स हो, चाहे वो ह्यूमैनिटीज हो, चाहे वो साइंस हो, आपने चूज कर लिया. 12th में बच्चा पहुंचता है, फिर होता है अरे अब क्या करना है, कौन से कॉलेज में जाना है, कहाँ सिलेक्शन होगा. तो देन दी फ्रैंटिक रश स्टार्ट्स कि चलो किसी भी कॉलेज में एडमिशन मिल जाए, आगे करियर को. देन वी विल सी व्हाट नीड्स टू बी डन. फर्स्ट लेट मी जस्ट गेट एन एडमिशन इनटू वन ऑफ द कॉलेज and do my graduation. So the student enters into college 3 years or 4 years, depending upon the course, or maybe the 5 years, depending upon the course that the person has joined. So when he reaches the final year, then the focus is on, let me first get a job. So campus placement, सबसे पहली job मुझे मिल जाए, first let me take a job, then I'll figure out what I want to do in my life. So you're seeing the process. It's purely, every time it's short term. It is based on first let me do this, then I'll think. उसमें life काफी आगे तक निकल जाती है. The level of frustrations are very high. So what we suggest in the mentoring process is flip the process. पहले identify करो कि आपका career का start point क्या होना चाहिए. That is where we use the NDP framework, what I just explained to you. So हम लोग वो आइडेंटिफाई कराते हैं कि आपके स्टार्ट पॉइंट करियर का क्या होना चाहिए. भाई अगर आप थ्रेड को एक छोर से, कोई तो छोर से पकड़ोगे, करियर्स में चेंज लेटर, फाइन, बट यू नीड अ स्टार्ट पॉइंट. सो वी हेल्प इन आइडेंटिफाइंग दैट स्टार्ट पॉइंट. देन वी डू अ बैक कैलकुलेशन. ओके, अगर ये मेरी फील्ड होनी है, इस फील्ड के लिए कौन से कॉलेजेस हो सकते हैं जिसमें ये फील्ड ऑफर होती है, इन कॉलेजेस में पहुंचने के लिए व्हाट आर द रिक्वायरमेंट्स, और उस रिक्वायरमेंट के लिए मुझे कौन से सब्जेक्ट चूज करने चाहिए. नाउ यू सी द डिफरेंस, द रोड मैप इज क्लियर, द एंड गोल इज क्लियर, that this is what my start point of the career could be. For that start point, these are the colleges. For these colleges, what are the entry criteria? For meeting those entry criteria, what are the subjects that I need to take? What is the stream I need to take? That is the clarity which a child requires. And अच्छा, mentoring process इसलिए जरूरी है कि बच्चों का माइंड जो होता है स्टूडेंट्स का बहुत फर्टाइल होता है. So especially when they are moving from the age group, when they are in the class 9, 10 से लेकर 12 तक आते हैं, it's very fertile. So they peer, जो उनके जो friends होते हैं उनका काफी influence होता है. They read a lot about on the internet. Internet is like the mother of all the information. So they keep on getting a lot of information which confuses them, which not confuses them, which create a lot of questions in their mind. So they require someone to bounce off those questions and get clarity so that they don't lose their focus. Very important, students को, बच्चों को focus रखना, it's very, very critical for them to be successful. So mentor ensures कि बच्चों का focus इधर से उधर ना हो. If a goal has been identified, a target has been identified, then the deviations, the distractions should not happen. I'll give you a statement, निधि जी, जो मुझे बहुत पसंद है. Performance is equal to potential minus interference. जितना आप interference को कम करोगे, your performance will be equal to potential. And the interferences are these distractions.
Distractions, peer pressure, yeah. So
correct,
in fact,
correct.
you are, instead of we having career counseling in schools, we should have career mentoring in schools, right? Instead of just career counseling, career mentoring.
मैं निधि जी, आपने मेरे मुंह की बात छीन ली. मैं इस वर्ड काउंसलिंग से, जहां मैं काउंसलिंग पढ़ता हूं तो थोड़ा मुझे फील होता है, बिकॉज बच्चों को, बिलीव मी, उनको कोई प्रॉब्लम नहीं है. स्टूडेंट्स, दे डोंट हैव अ प्रॉब्लम. ऑल दे रिक्वायर इज अ सपोर्ट सिस्टम, a mentor, somebody who can speak to them, who can clear their doubts and keep them focused. Absolutely, Nidhi ji. I strongly believe in this.
Believe in that too. So there is a question popping up, like if you are into a particular field you feel interested in. For instance, if there is a case that a child is very much interested in fine arts, probably, okay, but according to your analysis, her or his or her calling is into management. So how do you deal with a situation like that?
Sure, मैम. निधि जी, बहुत सिचुएशंस आती हैं. मैं आपको इसको और भी स्टेट ले चलता हूँ. पेरेंट्स की एक्सपेक्टेशन कुछ और है. बच्चा सोचता है कि मुझे ये एरिया ठीक होगा मेरे लिए, और एनालिसिस में निकल कर आता है बिल्कुल ही थर्ड एरिया. आप दो डायमेंशंस ले रहे हैं, मैं इसको मल्टी डायमेंशनल बना देता हूँ. ठीक है. और ये सिचुएशंस आती हैं, बिल्कुल आती हैं. एंड दैट इज वेयर द ब्रेनस्टॉर्मिंग कम्स इन, बिकॉज जरूरी सबसे ज्यादा ये है कि बच्चे को कन्विंस होना, बच्चे को कंफर्ट मिलना. सो दैट्स वेयर वी डिस्कस विद द चाइल्ड, वी शेयर द ऑप्शंस. अगर उसका कोई ऑप्शन है, हम उसको वो भी एनालिसिस में दिखाते हैं, उसको तुम्हारा यहाँ निकल कर आते हैं. देन वी एक्सप्लेन. इफ वी आर सजेस्टिंग अ फील्ड, इट्स अ सजेशन. Okay, it's a journey that we take together with the child. It is not that कि हमने एक रिपोर्ट पकड़ा दी कि जी आपके 97.6% प्रोबेबिलिटी है इंजीनियर बनने की, 90% प्रोबेबिलिटी है डॉक्टर बनने की, 87.6% प्रोबेबिलिटी है लॉयर बनने की. पेरेंट क्या करेगा इस रिपोर्ट का? बच्चा क्या करेगा इस रिपोर्ट का? That is why the mentoring process comes in. Slowly we go through the mind of the child, what's really going in the mind. जो फील्ड वो आइडेंटिफाई किया हुआ है, इज इट बिकॉज ऑफ द पीयर प्रेशर? व्हाट आर द डेटा पॉइंट्स? इफ इट इज नॉट मैचिंग विद आवर डेटा पॉइंट्स, देन वी एक्सप्लेन एंड वी डेलिब्रेट एंड वी ब्रेनस्टॉर्म. वी एक्सप्लेन टू दैट. दैट इज वेयर द मेंटरिंग कम्स इन. एंड ऑफ द डे, प्लीज अंडरस्टैंड, इट इज द लाइफ career of that child. It is that important. It cannot be rushed. It cannot be just based on one interaction कि जी एक मीटिंग कर दी, एक सिस्टम से 2 पन्ने या 4 पन्ने या 20 पन्ने की रिपोर्ट पकड़ा दी, काम खत्म हो गया. No. Okay. आज अगर बच्चे का इंटरेस्ट किसी और में है, कल को वो फिर बदल सकता है. And if we are suggesting a field, maybe for the time being, child agrees to that. But few months later उसके दिमाग में फिर thought आ सकता है कि यार ये मैं क्यों करूं, ये क्यों नहीं कर सकता. So that is why very important. That's why we keep on emphasizing on the mentoring process. बच्चे को लगातार सपोर्ट दो, उसकी बात को समझो. अगर वो कुछ कह रहा है, if he's saying something, why is he saying something? What are the data points? What's the thought process behind it? Okay, if parents are saying something, then what's the reason why? And many times the child को लगता है कि मेरे parents कह रहे हैं मैं इसलिए कर लूं. It is not parents' pressure. It is the career of the child. So parents need to provide that support to them. That's why I said अगर parents बहुत ज़्यादा अपना करने की कोशिश करते हैं, so I do a counseling for the parents. And because parents many times require that counseling, okay, they need to be the first support system to the child. Parents से बड़ा support system नहीं है. But please understand, it's a support system. They cannot live the life of the child. बच्चे की अपनी जिंदगी है.
Absolutely.
All they can do is provide that. So that's where the mentoring process comes in. That's precisely the reason.
I would also like to add that because when deciding the career for a child, even the parents are on an anxiety level which is very high, because even they do not know कि कौन सी फील्ड एक्चुअली में परफेक्ट रहेगी. समटाइम्स इट्स द एलिमिनेशन प्रोसेस. ये नहीं होगा मुझसे तो साइंस छोड़ो, मैथ्स अच्छी नहीं तो छोड़ो. तो एंजाइटी लेवल पेरेंट्स का भी बहुत ज्यादा हाई होता है. एक बात मैं और आपसे पूछना चाहूंगी कि जैसे कोई बच्चे हैं, पेरेंट्स हैं, ऐसा तो नहीं है कि अगर उनको बाहर पढ़ाना है या इंडिया में भी पढ़ाना है उनको अपने बच्चे को फॉर फर्दर स्टडीज, तो उनको इतनी नॉलेज नहीं होती कि कौन सा इंस्टीट्यूट अच्छा है, कौन से इंस्टीट्यूट में कौन से कॉम्बिनेशन ऑफ द सब्जेक्ट्स अच्छे हैं. डू यू आल्सो गाइड इन दिस रिगार्ड कि आप ये भी उनको
निधि जी, जो हमारा प्रोसेस शुरू होता है, वेदर इट इज डोमेस्टिक और इंटरनेशनल, वी हेल्प इन बोथ साइड्स. सी, इट स्टार्ट्स विद, एज आई सेड, वी जर्नी हम पूरा बच्चे की लेकर चलते हैं. इट इज नॉट दैट कि हमने एक बार एनालिसिस कर दिया, बच्चे को बता दिया फील्ड क्या है, वहां छोड़ दिया. नहीं, एज आई सेड, फील्ड इज द स्टार्ट पॉइंट. फील्ड के बाद नेक्स्ट अब आप बैक चलते हो, उस फील्ड के लिए कॉलेज आइडेंटिफिकेशन, whether these are international colleges or these are domestic colleges. So college identification is the second step. The third step is based on the college identification. What is the college? What is the admission requirements for those colleges? Agar aap, for an example, suppose you are trying for an Oxford or a Harvard or for one of the Ivy League colleges, okay, where the acceptance rate is less than 10%. Somebody has a 4% acceptance rate, 6% acceptance rate. It's highly competitive. So what is required to get into your dream college? What is it that you do? Now, if you start this preparing only once you are in class 12, तो आपके पास समय नहीं है. So which means the identification of the field, identification of the college, the plan, complete clear plan how to get into that college, what is required to get into those college, that needs to be put on a piece of paper and have that clarity. We do the mentoring process where हम बच्चे को start से लेकर college के admission तक, even after that first job, अब आप जॉब के लिए आपके पास कंपनीज आई हैं, तो किस कंपनी में जाना चाहिए, जाना भी चाहिए या भी आगे स्टडी करनी चाहिए, पोस्ट ग्रेजुएशन करना चाहिए. So there are a lot of decision points that comes in life. So that is where the mentoring process comes in. It's hand holding at every stage. It's not giving a child, okay, मैंने assessment कर दिया, आगे तुम जानो, you paid me my money, so I have no interest left, and you know that's not how we do it at Crestcon.
Crestcon that you have just mentioned, I was going to talk about it. What does the word Crestcon mean in the first place? So you just explain, and then we go into the Crestcon theory.
Yeah, it's www. KRESCON. Crescon is like Google, जिसका कोई straight meaning नहीं है. So it is derived from a word called cresco. Cresco means growth. And that is where the origination or the origin of this word crescon lies that, and there is a K factor to it.
Okay, wonderful. That's your personal original name that you've given, Crescon. And there's one thing, like if a child comes to you, and for instance, उसकी जो birth time है, उसको exactly नहीं पता है. Maybe you know it's like नहीं है कि half an hour इधर है, half an hour उधर है, कहाँ कुछ clear नहीं है. So how do you deal with that?
Yeah, so there is something called birth. Sure. And again, a very, very valid question, Nidhi ji, and a very practical question. So, birth time बड़ा ही tough होता है. Exact birth time का, ना even जो medical certificate जो आपके birth certificate पे लिखा होता है, उसमें भी कभी-कभी changes हो जाते हैं because what the nurse has said. So, बहुत accurate निकालना tough होता है. And that is the beauty of our astrology science, of our astral science. Through the event, there is a birth time rectification that happens, and we track down the important event in a person's life, जैसे उनके parents का या उनके brothers and sisters का, उनके siblings का, तो we identify, we see what those events are, when those events happened, and those need to be there in the birth chart. They need to reflect. So there's a rectification time, birth time rectification that happens, that has to be done. आप कुछ भी face value पे लेकर कभी भी astrology शुरू नहीं हो सकती. It's a science. Everything will, if your start mix compounds are wrong, you cannot get the right result. It is not going to happen. So that's why there is a lot of time that goes into the birth chart rectification, validation, at the time that has been provided. Is that correct or not? Or please understand, career is a very, very important decision point in anybody's life. Okay, we consider ourselves as like a doctor. So if a doctor is giving an advice, okay, it is so critical for a person's health.
Absolutely.
Similarly, when we are suggesting something, we have to be equally careful about the situation. We need to be very sensitive to this point, and that is why we don't like hurrying up. It's not, we don't do mentoring in bunch, we don't do assessment in groups. It is each person, each child is treated as an individual. इसीलिए मुझे आज भी एक एक बच्चे का नाम याद है जिसमें हमके साथ हमने किया है. तो हम वो नहीं है जी हमने 10,000 बच्चों का असेसमेंट कर दिया, 5,000 का कर दिया. These are kids, are children are not a numbers for us. They are individuals. Okay, it takes time, and अगर कोई time नहीं दे रहा, then there is something drastically wrong. He's not in the right area to be in.
I agree with you. सर एक क्वेश्चन और मुझे पूछना है आपसे. जब आप कुंडली देखते हैं तो बहुत कुछ ऐसा भी नजर आता होगा जिसे आप नजरअंदाज नहीं कर सकते हैं और आपके उस करियर से रिलेटेड नहीं है, लेकिन फिर भी आपकी नजर में आ गया. आप उस सिचुएशन में क्या पेरेंट्स को बताते हैं? और अगर बताते हैं, जैसे हिंदी में जो कहते हैं कि जोशी जो कहते हैं कि उपाय बताते हैं, तो ऐसा भी कुछ आप करते हैं इसमें?
दीदी जी, पहले तो आप ये बताइए, आप इतने अच्छे क्वेश्चन कहाँ से ढूंढ के ला रहे हैं? बहुत ही रेलेवेंट क्वेश्चन है.
बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. एंड जिससे भी हमारे जो व्यूअर्स हैं, क्योंकि जब ज्योतिषी की बात आती है तो उपाय भी कहीं ना कहीं सभी को चाहिए ही होता है, तो प्लीज बताइए.
देखिए, आप सही कह रही हैं. जब हम किसी की भी बर्थ चार्ट्स को, कुंडली को देखते हैं, एनालाइज करते हैं, बहुत सारी चीजें निकल कर आती हैं जो दिखती हैं सामने. हम लोगों का फोकस करियर पे ही रहता है, बिकॉज जिस चीज के लिए हम देख रहे हैं वो करियर है. लेकिन करियर पार्ट ऑफ लाइफ है. कोई आप उसको आइसोलेशन में नहीं देख सकते, आप पीसेस नहीं कर सकते कि ये करियर है, ये है, आप ऐसे पीसेस नहीं कर सकते। आपको देखनी होलिस्टिक ही होती है, बिकॉज ये जिंदगी है, जिंदगी टुकड़ों में नहीं जी जाती है। जिंदगी एक कंबाइंड वेड में जीते हैं, कभी टुकड़ों में नहीं जी सकते। तो सिचुएशंस ऐसी आती हैं कि हम लोगों को कुछ चीजें दिखती हैं, अगर वो बहुत ही ज्यादा हटके चीज है, कुछ ऐसी चीज है, तो हम लोग बड़ा ही सटली एक सेपरेट डिस्कशन पेरेंट्स से रखते हैं। पेरेंट्स को बताते हैं कुछ चीजें, कि आप उसको डायरेक्ट पेरेंट्स को नहीं बताते, बस एक इंडिकेशन देते हैं कि इन चीजों का जस्ट आप ध्यान रखिएगा। हम लोग सेपरेट एक एस्ट्रोलॉजी कंसल्टेशन भी करते हैं, और लेकिन वो अगेन बहुत ज्यादा एग्जॉस्टिव, बहुत ज्यादा डिटेल्ड होता है। हम लोग वो 10 मिनट में या आधे घंटे में, 1 घंटे में बताने वाले लोग नहीं है। इट टेक्स टाइम फॉर अस, एक एक एस्पेक्ट्स को हम लोग एनालाइज करते हैं। बट आपके क्वेश्चन का आंसर देने के लिए यस, हम लोग शेयर करते हैं, लेकिन उसको बहुत सेंसिटिवली, बहुत ही सटली पेरेंट्स को इंडिकेट करते हैं कि ये चीजें आप ध्यान रखिएगा। उससे ज्यादा हमारे लिए कहना, हमारे क्योंकि हम उस बाउंड्रीज में एक बंधे हुए हैं जो हमारे लिए जरूरी है, लेकिन यस वी डू शेयर सम सर्टेन क्रिटिकल थिंग वेरी सटली।
डू यू ऑल्सो प्रोवाइड सोल्यूशंस टू इट, कि अगर ऐसा कुछ है तो उपाय भी आप सजेस्ट करते हैं, या वो आप
और देखिए उपाय वो एक सेपरेट डिस्कशन होता है। वो एक सेपरेट डिस्कशन होता है, बिल्कुल होता है। लेकिन वो करियर से फिर अलग एक उसका डिटेल्ड में एनालिसिस, जैसे हमको कुछ एरिया दिखा तो उसमें हम ऐसे ही नहीं बता सकते, फिर हम उसमें डीप डाइव करते हैं। उपाय बताने से पहले उसको समझना, रूट कॉज एनालिसिस करना। सिम्टम को आप ट्रीट नहीं करना चाहिए, कॉज को ट्रीट करना चाहिए। जो कॉज तक पहुंचना जरूरी होता है, जो शुरू में देखते हैं वो सिम्टम्स दिख रहे होते हैं। अगर डॉक्टर सिर्फ सिम्टम्स को देखकर ट्रीटमेंट करने शुरू कर दे, इट्स जस्ट लाइक निधि जी आप डॉक्टर के पास जाओ, कोई जी मेरे सर दर्द हो रहा है, वो सिम्टम है, वो सर दर्द का कॉज क्या है। करेक्ट करेक्ट करेक्ट। तो वो रूट कॉज एनालिसिस करना, उस कॉज को आइडेंटिफाई करना, तब आप उपाय दे सकते हैं। सिम्टम को दूर करने का उपाय से ट्रीटमेंट नहीं होता, कुछ समय के लिए सिम्टम दूर हो जाते हैं। तो yes, we do the root cause analysis, but that's a separate discussion altogether, and that's a very detailed discussion. That's a separate discussion. Yes, we do that.
My viewers are asking how would they connect you. If you could just share contact number with us, your email ID. If you have a site, we can look into it.
I can give my number. Where do I? It's where do I tap it out? I don't know.
So if you can just share with us verbally as of now, and then we can put it up on the next time. Like
हम लोगों का सेंट्रल नंबर है 8088 660660. I repeat 8088 660660. आप इस सेंट्रल नंबर पे कोई भी कॉल कर सकता है, और हमारी वेबसाइट है www.crescon.com, KRESCON, crescon.com, and I'll repeat the number 8088 660 That's our number. So more than welcome, can get in touch with us anytime, and we are there to help in any way we can.
Anish, Coach Anish ji, this has been such an informative and a highly interactive session, and I'm sure our students and teachers and parents as well who have been listening to us, we are going to benefit extremely from this interaction with you. And if there are any questions we get on our sites from our, forward them to you. And as you've also given your number, I'm sure all of them are going to contact you. And I thank you so very much once again. If there is any message you want to convey to the students, please.
It's been my pleasure, and I thank you again, Nidhi for inviting me to this forum. I've been honored to be here. Thanks a lot. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.